and welcome to episode 89 of the Game Room Podcast. I'm Rome.
I'm Dev.
And that's Ash, which, I mean, she's not on camera right now, I don't think, but...
She's checking the systems.
Yeah, she's the producer. She's on the ones and twos, making sure everything is good. Oh, man, Dev, it's fucking Super Bowl week.
I know.
I'm so excited. So, like, for me, like, my anxiety is kicked in, right? Like, I'm so excited.
That's why we talked about it before, and I'm like, I'm okay with it. I know it's what, 6 days away. I'm okay with it being 6 days away because I need I need that time before.
See, last week was the week that I felt that, where it was like I was okay that there was a wait. Like, you enjoy it. Like, after the championship game, that week off between like the championship game and like when the Super Bowl craziness starts. Like right now, they're doing the opening night, right? And it's like that's the week that's fun because you're just like, this is great. Like, we're going to Super Bowl. It's exciting. But like then this week, you know, you woke up this morning and it's just like you gotta get locked in. Yeah. It's time for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I mean that's what we're gonna try to do. I mean we're gonna try to talk video games while we. Like I was joking today at work. I said I just wish somebody would like just knock me out, go into a coma for 5 days, just wake up. It's like, hey, it's Sunday morning. It's like, all right, cool. Great.
I'm not looking forward to like. I am looking forward to it, but I'm not looking forward to being like on the couch. And, it's like, oh, the ball's kicked. It's kickoff. Like, you know what I mean? Like
shit, everything's on fire. Everything's on fire.
Exactly. So, I'm enjoying this time beforehand. So we'll see.
No, definitely, and you should enjoy it. I mean, there are franchises that don't make it here ever, and like three times in 8 years, you know, regardless of the outcome, you got to be grateful that you're an organization that can keep doing that. I know we're not a football podcast, but it's special, and so, you know, definitely feel blessed in that regards.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Still fighting the cough. For the sake of superstitions, I need this cough to last until after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that's killing me, the anxiety, the superstitions. Because we've been talking about superstitions off pod all weekend.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm like, I feel very uncomfortable. It's like, okay, well, like, and then you said today, like, we don't play the game. We just show up.
We do our part.
We do our part. We do something, but we don't. I don't know. I'm more superstitious than you, I think, though. But anyways. Meanwhile, while all that's going on, the world's currently on fire. Mm-hmm. Which is going to lead into our first story of the show. But before we get into that, again, this is the Game Room Podcast, where each and every week we go back and review the last week's news, talk games, and get you up to speed so that way you're ready to go for the next week. If you like the content that we make here, please like and subscribe. Join our Discord where we kind of also hang out a lot. But as I said, the first headline of the show is the ESA has sent a letter or a statement over to Donald Trump in regards to his tariffs and how they can affect the games industry. Now, there is an update here, but let's go with the original story. The United States government, led by Donald Trump, is set to impose new trade tariffs across a number of countries, such as Canada, Mexico, and China. These tariffs are set to impact a number of industries, including video games, and has garnered a response from the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA. Now, as you had asked earlier today, just so people are on the same page, the ESA is basically like the lobbyist group or the representative of the video game industry in Washington. So whenever there's something that the video games industry needs to convey in a political spectrum or in a government spectrum, the ESA is that spokesperson.
Okay.
In a statement given to Kotaku, the organization is asking Trump and the United States government to consult to avoid significant harm to the people in the United States. Quote, tariffs on video game devices and related products would impact Americans of all ages across the country, the statement reads. We urge the administration to consult with the private sector in a transparent process to avoid causing significant harm to everyday Americans and to one of the fastest growing entertainment sectors in the United States. Oh, hold on, ad popped up. So then there is a follow-up statement. So Insider Gaming reached out, and the ESA gave this statement saying the ESA has provided the following statement to Insider Gaming, and they said video games are the most popular and beloved one of the most popular and beloved forms of entertainment for Americans of all ages. Tariffs on video game devices and related products would negatively impact hundreds of millions of Americans and would harm the industry's significant contributions to the U.S. economy. We look forward to working with the administration and Congress to find ways to sustain the economic growth supported by our sector. So, first things first, tariffs, taxes on the citizens of that country. It is a tax that we as American citizens will pay. To kind of make it clear, so let's say Trump puts a tariff on China, and let's say Nintendo gets Switch 2 units, and they're made in China, and then they get sent here. Nintendo is not the one paying that tariff. Yeah. The Chinese factory is not the one paying that tariff. It's the importer, so whatever retailer, or if Nintendo is selling it directly, they're paying the tariff. But whatever entity in the United States that is buying these Switch 2 units, they're the ones that pay the tariff. Yeah. And that tariff usually...
It's a tax that goes to the government.
Right, the tax that goes to the government. And usually, regularly, when a tariff is placed on a product, that company that is paying that tariff, they're passing that charge or that increase in cost to the consumer. Mm-hmm. So, there is a lot of concern in the games industry. Obviously, just look at the next few years. Like, let's just say the next 4 years, right? You're looking at the Switch 2 launching this year. A lot of rumblings about the next Xbox launching in 2026. A lot of rumblings, obviously PlayStation's got going on what they've got going on. Like, you have to assume over the next 4 years, each of the big three are going to be putting out their next console iteration, not next generation.
Not to don't forget, and I don't think we talked about it here, but there's rumors that GTA is going to cost $100, and that's going to spread across the gaming sphere. So it's like games are going to be more expensive, devices are going to be more expensive, and it's going to come out of our pockets.
Yeah, that's just generally where the industry is heading, unfortunately, and these tariffs definitely don't help. Now, obviously, this isn't an increase on digital goods, but something you need to think about is...
In a way, it is.
Well, so I'm going to get to this. So,
yeah.
My point is that while it may not directly impact... they can't put a tariff on a digital good, but what they can do is if you put a tariff on a game, on physical... The physical games are going to cost more. Mm-hmm. These companies, these publishers, are going to have parity between physical and digital prices.
Yeah.
If they raise the price of a physical copy of a game, that digital price is going to match that physical price. Mm-hmm. Obviously, also for me personally, this is something that affects me because while, obviously we know where the future is going, these tariffs are going to hurt physical game sales. Obviously, most physical games, I believe, are printed in Mexico generally. Obviously, if there's a tariff on those, they're going to go up.
Yeah.
So less people are going to buy those physical games. Now, they may not realize as consumers that the digital prices are also going to go up, but it's still going to really deter, it's going to deter these consumers from buying physical media, which is just extremely unfortunate. I don't know if the ESA is going to succeed in this endeavor. Because the ESA is coming at this with a lot of logic, a lot of reason, a lot of intelligence. Unfortunately, the people that they're reaching out to do not have those same qualities. So, I feel like this is going to be something that falls on deaf ears. Yeah. Personally, that's my opinion. I would love to be wrong. We're 2 weeks in and I've yet to be proven wrong about anything. So,
we'll see.
Yeah, I hope that we're not looking at something that's going to, let's say hypothetically they put 100% tax on China, which is something that he has said he would do, and the Switch 2 units are made in China. Are you paying $800 for a Switch 2?
Not anytime soon. That's for
sure.
I'm
not spending $800 on a Switch 2.
Yeah.
Because let's say Nintendo is aiming to launch this thing at $400, right? Well, let's say $500. Maybe they're something like that. It's if you're doubling that charge.
Yeah.
It's $1,000, $800. It's just. It could be really a real problem in the future, but we'll have to see what happens because the whole tariff thing is literally an ongoing thing as we're talking. It looks like there was a stall put on the tariffs in Canada and Mexico. Not that anything was gained, but we'll see how that plays out in the coming months. Number 2 in the headlines, Xbox had their quarter 2 2025 earnings results. The gaming revenue declined, but saw slight growth in Game Pass, in services via Game Pass. The key points to take away here is gaming revenue declined 7%. Xbox content and services revenue grew 2%, driven by growth in Game Pass. Xbox hardware revenue declined 29%. So what does this mean? It's always hard to judge the long-term effects of quarterly financials, as they don't paint a broader picture of the company as a whole. On first impressions, Xbox content and services revenue growth by 2% seems like a good indicator for Game Pass. But during the months in which the hotly anticipated Call of Duty Black Ops 6 released, you would have expected a little more movement. However, its growth matches Microsoft's guidance at 2%. Xbox's revenue decline is something that we should hopefully see change in the coming months, as Xbox's new strategy is set to release more games across more platforms and increase revenues. Xbox's hardware decline shows a sharp decrease at 29%, which is... Insider Gaming says this is shocking. I don't think it's shocking.
Yeah, not at all. Especially with all the recent news.
Well, I mean, I think the console sector in general is kind of flattening.
But I mean, announcing you're going third party, I think that might kill... Not kill it, but that's a drastic decrease.
So we're going to talk more about that strategy more and PlayStation following the strategy. We have some interesting insights that we're kind of going to discuss tonight. But I think that, yes, part of it can play into that, where it's like, hey, the Xbox games are going everywhere. My big thing is, and I think this goes for PlayStation as well, is I think at this point in the generation life cycle, you're not releasing a cheaper box. Mm-hmm. Both Xbox and PlayStation. Mm-hmm. PlayStation went with the more expensive route where they did the Pro. That's more expensive. That's a more niche product. Xbox has done no mid-gen refresh, which I don't blame them personally. I don't blame either of them personally. I don't think either the Xbox or the PlayStation this generation has really pushed that limit, in my opinion, where it's worth putting out a mid-gen refresh. But that's just me personally. I think that, keep in mind, we are late in this generation's life cycle. Usually, when you're looking at hardware or generations, this is around the time where, the Xbox 360 puts out that slim model, where, PlayStation puts out, I guess I'm not going to keep saying slim, but they put out those little refreshes.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, it's smaller, more compact. Some of the features might be ironed out a little bit better. I think that it's that. I think that it is the third-party thing. I think it's a giant amalgamation of a lot of things coming together to contribute to this 29% decrease. Again, I think at this point in 2025, if you want an Xbox Series console or you want a PlayStation 5, I feel like you have it by now.
I would think so.
I just think that that's the case. I think if you are going to buy one, it's already been bought. So when I look at these numbers and I look at a 29%, decrease, that to me that's kind of expected at this point in the generation. It's why they put out those refreshes, to keep the momentum of the sales going. But there is no refresh, so therefore there's a decline.
It just feels like within a span of a quarter, almost 30% does feel like a lot.
Yeah, for
sure.
Especially
around the holidays. Again, the mention of Call of Duty, you would think things would maybe not drop so much. I know Call of Duty's on Game Pass, so you don't need a console, but almost 30% is a lot.
Again, I'm gonna look. I don't want to make it sound like I'm brushing it off, because yes, I do think to a certain extent there's probably people in that 29% that maybe they were like, oh, I want to get an Xbox. Well, it's not that those 29% are people; it's a lesser stat. But you get my point. There are people who are like, hey, I was gonna get an Xbox, or maybe they would have gotten an Xbox, but there was less excitement around the brand. Because yes, Call of Duty coming to Xbox or coming to Game Pass is great if you're a Game Pass subscriber, but I don't know, if you're not interested in Game Pass, nothing changed for Call of Duty. It released everywhere, same as always, and it sold a lot. It did really well. So I don't know. I looking at that number, the number doesn't worry me, because also I do think that it's just unfortunate, but it seems like the console business is flatlining a little bit. It's becoming more of a niche product, which I don't think consoles are going away, because we're looking at this number and like not thinking about the fact that there are a lot of Xbox Series consoles in the wild.
Yeah,
there
that's
are a lot
true.
of PS5s in the wild.
Yeah.
When you look at these quarterly calling numbers, it's like, yeah, I guess that's skewed.
No, I agree with that. I think
If you go a week without like, I don't know, eating like vegetables, you're like, oh, my vegetable intake is down by 100%. It's like, oh my god, this person's dying. It's like, no, they just went a week without eating vegetables.
no, I agree with that. I think
If you've eaten vegetables before,
yeah, no, it's definitely like you said. I feel like if you at this point, if you wanted one of those boxes, you probably have one of those boxes.
yeah,
Especially at this point in the life cycle. And while there's always going to be a market for consoles, obviously, but we're also seeing a shift into handhelds. I think handhelds will be really big in the next 2 or 3 years.
yeah. My big concern about the number, right, is the Game Pass. So ironically enough, my biggest concern
The 2% increase,
is the
right?
2%
Yeah.
increase, because it's like, okay, so they grew. To me personally, in
Now,
my opinion, I'd be happy with that.
Well, something you read in there was, it sounded like Xbox was expecting a 2% increase.
Yeah, they were. That was
Yeah.
what they were expecting.
Which, to me, that seems little. You know what I mean? I don't know the numbers.
But here's what you gotta keep in mind. So, for like, it's a revenue that keeps replenishing. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You know, like when you put out a game, people buy that game for $70. It's one transaction, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously, there's like microtransactions and battle passes.
Yeah.
But like, let's just keep it simple. So if someone buys Call of Duty, you spend $70. You give that $70. You know, 30% of it or whatever goes to the retailer you bought it from. Well, I guess I guess we can start talking digital. You buy it from the Xbox store or the PlayStation store. Obviously, PlayStation takes a cut, but on Xbox, they see 100% cut of that Call of Duty game if you buy it digitally on that storefront.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's one transaction, you're done. Whereas like if you get people in the door with Game Pass, you keep them subscribed, that revenue every month it just hits the bank account.
Yeah.
And for them, this year is really important because this is a big year for them to really show those games and hit that stride where like you can keep those Game Pass subscribers for the whole year. And I think that they have a really good shot of doing that. We have to see what the numbers look like a year from now.
Yeah.
But I mean, before this year, like, yes, there were months where Game Pass would drop. There were quarters when it wouldn't do as well because there just wasn't a lot of first party support there. But when you look at this year, I mean, it's just like you got South of Midnight, you got Doom. There is going to be a Call of Duty this year. Gears possibly launching this year.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much stuff.
And they're going
coming out in the
multi-platform
pipeline.
with, I would assume, all of those titles. So.
Yeah, but we're talking about Game Pass specifically right now. But or at least I.
Oh, okay.
Like I look at it, it's like I think that pipeline's great, and you have a really good chance of keeping those Game Pass customers in the ecosystem. And I think that should be their goal. So I mean, again, to me, like
I think it's what they want. You know what I mean? They want to see that 2% increase. That's their goal. I think that's what Xbox is in-house. That's what they're talking about. That's what they want.
Right. No, I mean I can agree with that. Number 3 in the headlines, just kind of piggybacking off of that. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle has been played by more than 4 million players, according to Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. This was announced during the quarterly investors call that we're talking about right now. These are the first tangible numbers we've gotten about the game's performance. Keep in mind that this game, as of right now, has only launched on Xbox and PC. So, obviously, it's been a really interesting year. In terms of like what we've talked about and like what the future of gaming looks like. And I think that maybe I'm just trying to go with the flow and like be like, this is the future, and like trying to support that vision. But I mean, I think that like I think maybe multi-platform is the future in general. I mean, it's just it doesn't make sense to limit yourself, especially if you're going day and date on PC. And I mean, I guess it's more of a discussion for a later headline, but I kind of moved the script around, so I guess my thought process is already on that. But no, this is good numbers in my opinion. I think 4 million players on Xbox and PC alone is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you could, with PlayStation, maybe you pick up another 4 million, maybe you double it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good chance. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is an incredible game. I'm still working on playing it. January was crazy because I didn't. We talk about my quote. I try to get those games out. How many game completions in January? 0. Between being sick, football, the world being on fire, and I have genuinely been playing Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, it is
But
what it is.
you're enjoying it. That's
I am
that's
really
the important
enjoying
part.
it. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely not as big of an experience as some might. I don't know what people expect. But it's more of like a 40-hour game as opposed to like a 100-hour game, which is great. Like I want more curated, smaller. They don't have to be like too small, but double-digit hours is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for 150 hours. I'm looking for like 40 to 60. Like,
especially in a single player narrative driven game. Yeah, that's
for sure. Yeah. All right, number 4 in the headlines. Forza Horizon 5 is the next title to make the leap exclusively from Xbox to PlayStation. Over the past year, Microsoft has made no secret of its plan to begin launching more and more games on the PlayStation ecosystem. Sea of Thieves was among the first. Indiana Jones has been announced since then, and now Microsoft is going even further. Forza Horizon 5 is one of Microsoft's most successful games in its history, serving tens of millions of players. The flagship racing game is the gold standard for the genre and is a multi-award winner. It's
such
also
a good game.
It really is, especially Horizon.
Yeah.
It's also a huge moneymaker for Microsoft, owing to its live service nature, ongoing updates, and in-app purchases. Forza Horizon 5 first launched on Xbox Series XS1 and Windows PC on November 21st. The game was a roaring success. November 21st, 2023, I think. I think this article is incorrect, because it didn't come out in 2024. The game was a roaring success, rapidly reaching over 20 million players, and like its predecessors, achieving critical acclaim. Shared with us via sources initially and then confirmed officially by Microsoft on their website, developer Playground Games discussed its partnership with Panic Button, who is the developer of the PlayStation port. And there's also a new update called Realms coming, developed by Panic Button Studios in partnership with Turn 10 and Playground Games. We will have the same content as the Xbox and PC releases of the game. Previously released car packs, as well as the Hot Wheels and Rally Adventure expansions, will also be available for purchase. We're excited to see the Forza Horizon community grow with new players on PS5. We can't wait to see the creativity and skill these new creators, builders, and racers will bring to our vibrant community. In addition to bringing Forza Horizon 5 to PS5, we're working on a special new free content update for all platforms, Horizon Realms. Realms will give players the chance to explore a curated collection of some of the community's favorite previously released evolving worlds, along with some other surprises. Stay tuned for more details.
Okay.
I mean, we kind of talked about this last week, right? Where this is just the strategy. Like, more games are going to be coming, and kind of what I was saying with the last headline. I just think this is I'm kind of just buying in that I think for what game companies want to do, this is probably the future. I think that, like, Xbox's strategy, it just makes sense at this point. I mean, like, if you're looking at the corporation side of it, where the companies, Xbox, PlayStation, EA, like Ubisoft, like Square Enix had this revelation this past year where it's like they're looking at it and let's look at Square Enix, for example. We had a lot of discussions last year about Square Enix, and like you would say, like, if you're a Square Enix JRPG fan, you're probably just already buying it on PlayStation. Am I misquoting? Is that what you said?
No.
That's what you said. I said that Square Enix bringing Xbox JRPGs to Xbox is good, and you had said that the Square Enix, like, JRPGs, if you're a JRPG fan, you're probably already playing on PlayStation and buying on PlayStation.
Not so much that you're buying it, but you probably, if you're a JRPG fan, you probably own a PlayStation traditionally has most of the JRPGs.
Right.
So if you grow up playing those games, if that's your game that you go to, you're probably already in the PlayStation ecosystem.
Right. So, but I think even Square Enix looking at it, it's just like, hey, like, why would we not put the game everywhere?
Yeah.
And we did a headline a couple weeks ago where, someone Square Enix was like, the next Final Fantasy VII Remake part will be available on a wide variety of platforms. And I just think that, like, it doesn't make sense to limit yourself at all. I mean, like, even if Xbox is half of what PlayStation is user-wise, right? That's still millions of people that you could sell your game to.
No, my whole thing was that benefits PlayStation. Obviously, it didn't benefit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That benefits having that game as an exclusive. Benefits Sony because if you want to play that, you have to go on PlayStation.
But apparently, I mean, with Square Enix, we're seeing maybe it didn't benefit Square Enix.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have kept taking the PlayStation check.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think.
I mean, we saw it when recently. I think the first game went to PC.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
It was doing extremely well.
Yeah, it was doing really, really well.
Yeah.
So it's like people want to play these games in other places.
Yeah. I just not to harp on it, and I know that there's a lot of people who are used to the way things have always been. And I think genuinely, like, not to self-critique myself, but I do think that I'm generally someone who doesn't want, like, I'm like, hey, I'm comfortable with this.
Yeah.
I want to stay
You're
with
very
this.
adverse to change. You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
like change.
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to admit it. So I'm really trying here to look at the positive of it and just say, like, hey, it's okay. It makes sense for everyone to be able to play Gears of War.
So...
And it makes sense. Honestly, like, I understand as the market leader, you could say, like, oh, it doesn't make sense. I think it makes sense for PlayStation to do the same thing. I really do. And I'm not just saying that. Like, if there is, like, I'll just use me as a base, for example. Obviously, my preferred console in terms of, like, high-end stuff is Xbox. I love playing my Xbox. I buy the console. I mean, I buy PlayStation consoles, too. But, like, I'm an Xbox customer. Through and through. Subscribe to Game Pass for like 5 years straight, whatever it is. I'm there. Like, I'm that guy. If PlayStation announces tomorrow Horizon Forbidden West, God of War, these are games that I've already bought for my PlayStation, mind you. Like, hey, they're coming to Xbox. I'm getting them on Xbox. I am.
Yeah.
I'm buying it. That's $70 that PlayStation's getting. And if I'm like that, I'm more than willing to bet that there are others like me.
So I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah, for sure.
One is, when do you think... Because I agree with you that this will benefit Sony selling software. Obviously, it's everywhere. I don't think it'll be as big as an increase as it will on Xbox, but an increase is an increase.
I think it is, yeah. Let's say you sell an extra $1 million.
When do you think this happens for Sony? When do you think they pull the trigger on the... Because I don't think it happens within the next 2 years.
I think that what you're...
They're very stubborn.
I think what you're going to see, and we're already seeing it, is the move to PC will dictate it. I think that when PlayStation, the first PlayStation game that goes day and date with PC,
will decide
how quickly. Because let's say, for example, PlayStation, which they're already doing these games on PC.
Yeah.
Anyone who's saying that like PlayStation's keeping their games exclusive, they're not.
Yeah.
It's over. Like we always go and look at PC and we exclude PC from like the exclusive argument. Like Xbox hasn't had exclusive games for... When did they start putting their games on PC day and date? 6 years? 5 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It happened like halfway through the Xbox One generation. Right? So it's like the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
If you're someone who wants your console to just have exclusive games, unless you're a Nintendo kid, it's just not happening.
But do you think they keep the games, 6 months, and that's when...
So I could see PlayStation being a little bit more frivolous, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, we haven't had that game yet where it's been like launching on PlayStation consoles and PC day and date same day.
Well, they have to be seeing the numbers. I think Spider-Man 2 just recently went out. I mean, it's...
Yeah, but the problem is Spider-Man 2 is a bad example because the port's actually not good. It's actually pretty busted.
I mean, I think every Sony port has been busted
I don't think so.
On like day like...
Stop bashing PlayStation. I don't think so. I think they put out good PC ports.
No, I'm talking about like that week when it comes out. I feel like every PC port has had problems.
Can't speak to it, but I think you're wrong.
With what game?
I think you should stop bashing PlayStation.
It's not a bash.
Why do you hate?
Because the game, they fixed the game eventually, but it's like that initial week or whatever is really bad on PC. It just is.
This guy hates PlayStation.
Name a game that they put out on PC that has. I'll look it up right now.
Horizon.
Name Horizon. You think Horizon absolutely had problems when it first came out on PC?
Listen, I'm not a PlayStation hater.
You are a PlayStation hater.
Oh yeah, who's hating PlayStation right now? I think PlayStation does a great job.
Anyone who watches our show knows you're a PlayStation hater. I don't know why you hide it from yourself. You're the only person who believes you're not a PlayStation hater. Your wife, I can go upstairs to your wife right now. She'll be like, yeah, he hates PlayStation. He has that controller so he can throw it at the wall every now and then.
No, I have all 3 controllers next to me.
Oh, so that goes to that leads to my second question
What's
is,
the second question?
when do you stop buying? Because you have all the consoles. When do you stop buying all the consoles? I mean, like,
So
Nintendo's different. Nintendo will have, like, everything. But if the next Xbox is an Xbox PC system and Sony puts their stuff out on PC, are you going to stop buying PlayStations?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's the thing you got to keep in mind is that these console manufacturers, they sell these boxes at a loss.
Yeah.
They have to recoup the costs through
with software. Yeah.
So, and again, I said this a few months ago, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I recall you disagreeing with this take. But if you're Sony, right, wouldn't it make a lot of sense, instead of like losing money on a box, you're just selling the software? If you don't have to worry about someone buying the box, like, you're not losing any money on your console sale because you didn't sell a console to this person. You just sold a game. You're selling games. And I think that, like again, like, yes, to be completely honest and completely frank with you, like, if the day comes where PlayStation's putting their games on Xbox and vice versa, like, if there's no more exclusives other than Nintendo, absolutely, I will not buy a PlayStation. But at the end of the day, I can tell you what I will be buying.
You're buying all their software.
I'll be buying all the software.
Yeah.
Every game. What I'm already doing.
Yeah.
I'm just not buying the box.
All right.
And I think at the end of the day, like, when you knock down that software wall, you can, like, if you want to make money off accessories, guarantee you could probably, like, if you're like PlayStation or Xbox and you're just like, hey, like, we're already putting our games there, can we sell like an Xbox controller that's compatible with PlayStation? Can we sell a PlayStation controller that's compatible with the Xbox? Why not? I mean, it's just all Bluetooth.
I mean, those things already exist.
I mean, they do. But
yeah. I'm
saying
selling,
like, an advertised, like, works on a PlayStation, works on an Xbox. Like, you could still make accessories and sell those as well. Again, we got to, like, start thinking about getting out of the box. Phil made a really interesting comment last week where he said, like, we don't believe in putting ring fences around our games at this point. And just, like, I don't know, it just, from a business perspective, it makes sense.
Yeah.
To me. And, like, this is me stepping out of the comfort zone and trying to embrace the direction that we're going. And when I look at it from a logistical standpoint, I think it makes sense. So, do I think PlayStation will do it? Yes. Do I know when? Absolutely not. I have no idea when. Could be 2 years, could be 5 years, could be 10 years. I don't know. If I were them, put a game on day and date with...
Test it out. Test the waters.
That's what I'm saying. Do what Xbox did. They were like, hey, we're dropping these 4 games. We'll see what happens. I know that my guy, Hiroki Totoki, is trying to do what's best for games. Which will also make them the most money.
We'll see.
I'm a big Hiroki Totoki guy.
I know.
That is my guy. Everyone says I'm a PlayStation hater.
But you love Hiroki Totoki.
Like, I'm going to get Hiroki Totoki on my chest. Tattooed. Hands down. Number 5 in the headlines, just kind of continuing this conversation that we're having. A developer of Ori says Xbox has the right approach to exclusives and PlayStation may follow. We've seen some mixed opinions on what we're talking about right here. But someone who is definitely in favor of it is Moon Studios CEO Thomas Mahler, who previously worked on the Ori series of games alongside Microsoft and then turned down an exclusive deal for the company's most recent title, No Rest for the Wicked. In a post on social media, Mahler went into detail about why he thinks the strategy makes sense, both from a business perspective as well as a fan perspective, even suggesting PlayStation could follow suit at some point in the future. He says, Xbox Series X and PS5 basically contain the same hardware nowadays, so porting them from one platform to another isn't that big of a deal anymore. Their controllers are mostly the same. The Steam boxes will also be the same. Not supporting all these devices makes no sense, since you just cut out a huge chunk of your potential audience. Consoles have been stuck attracting the same 100 to 150 million players for over 2 decades now. What's she doing?
Our producer bought me a little...
Oh, look at that.
Thank you.
He says that consoles have been stuck attracting the same 150 million players for over 2 decades now. Yeah. If we want to see the industry grow, it needs to be easier for everyone to access the content. I'd be surprised if Sony doesn't end up with the same strategy. People should buy the device they like the most, but they then should have access to all the content. And yes, Nintendo will keep doing their own thing because Nintendo is Nintendo.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
We don't even include Nintendo in this conversation.
Yeah, we're not even talking about Nintendo. Switch 2? Get out of here.
Because we're all going to buy a Switch 2 and we're all going to buy whichever software.
Whichever console we want.
Yeah.
He says, rooting for one huge corporation to sell more boxes over another strikes me as fantastically senseless. We should all just share in the love for games. So, to put a pause there, so, like, again, like, me trying to look forward, I totally agree with everything he's saying here. And I just think that, why as a corporation would you cut yourself off from a potential point of sale with customers? And I also think he is right, and I think the change for me is, trying to look at it again, not just from a consumer perspective, but looking at it from the business perspective that they look at. And it's they've been trying to sell to the same people for 20 years. So yeah, it just makes more sense. He also goes on to say, simply put, the economics have changed. Making exclusives for one platform that sells 50 to 70 million units or so made sense when games cost $5, $10, $50 million to make.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, games cost $100 to $150 million and up to produce. So unless you're lucky to be the ringleader, you'll not be able to afford to limit your potential audience. Given how much it costs to make the AAA games Sony and Microsoft have been known to make, you're not doing yourself or your audience any favors by locking players down to a specific box. Especially if you can't guarantee that your box will be the box, which nobody can anymore.
Yeah.
Other quotes: If hardware would have to sell hardware, you would see a lot of innovation happening. The OSs we have on consoles still suck. There are very few convenience QoL features built in. Sony and Microsoft are behind on stuff like DLSS, frame gen, etc. Recently, we haven't even seen any new features being introduced or risks being taken. I'd love to see hardware being innovative again, really changing the way developers make games, allowing for new genres to appear, and we might even be better off if nobody can rest on their laurels anymore. So, I think this is kind of contradictory to what you were kind of, I don't know if worrying is the right word, or asking last week.
For hardware, it sounds like.
Because you were kind of would they rest on their laurels? And I would say, kind of what he's saying here, I was saying this last week, was the point I was trying to make is, no, I think that if the software is available for everybody, then, you probably would see more innovation in the hardware sector. Whether it be power or quality of life or whatever it is.
I think if the hardware is available everywhere, we're going to see less. They're going to stop taking a loss on hardware, I think. So we're going to see these advancements. They're going to be way more PC-like, but they're also going to get way more expensive.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because you're only, like you said, you're not buying a PS5. You're only bidding one box. That's what? Those two boxes right there, that's $1,000?
Sure.
Now you're going to have one box, and it might be $800.
Yeah, I'm still saving money, though.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that might be the plan.
We have more thoughts here. So, next up in the headlines, a former PlayStation exec says the game is changing as Xbox goes multi-platform. So Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio caught up with Adam Boyes. Boyes had been talking to Gamertag Radio host, and when asked about Microsoft's new strategy, the former Sony employee, who was a former PlayStation executive, I think I said that earlier, sorry, had some interesting things to say. Boyce spoke about the game landscape changing and said, Microsoft was Blockbuster, and now, over time, they're trying to become Netflix. That analogy speaks to Xbox's shift to a more content and services-based platform, although you could argue that with Xbox Live and the focus on digital marketplaces, Microsoft has always lent that way in the gaming world. Boyes also posed the question of who's the victim when Microsoft decides to move more games over to other platforms. He says, quote, when Phil and his team are putting amazing content on more platforms, who's the victim? I've been asking a lot of people, who's the victim? And there aren't any, except for people who are just well, I want games only where I bought it, and that's what I expect.
Yeah.
And I think he makes a great point here. I mean, I think it's what it comes down to, where it's the only people that really suffer from this is the console warriors, who are we're still doing the console war stuff. Other than that, I actually really like the analogy he put where, Xbox used to be Blockbuster, and now they're trying to be Netflix. I thought, like, I specifically included this in the script because I thought that was such a great way of looking at it, where it's like, that's just the future of the same industry. Like, Blockbuster and Netflix are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least the goal of those things are the same. It's just how easy it is to do it, to get it, to access it. And then one last one next to the headlines was another. It seemed like all the PlayStation executives were coming out to represent. Oh wait, what the hell? Oh no, did I mess up? I might have messed up. Hold on, let me see. I think I might actually. Huh.
What's up?
There was one from Sean Layden, but apparently I think I might have messed up the script. It's fine. No big deal.
Moving on then?
Yeah, we're going to move on. Next up in the headlines, Avowed. We got some updates on the frame rates in the game. It's going to have a 30, 40, and 60 frame FPS modes on Xbox Series X. A new leak has shared that Avowed will have 30, 40, 60 frames per second modes on the Xbox Series X. Also leaked will be that the Xbox Series S will have 30 and 40 frames per second modes. The news was shared by Ecstasis, who shared the information from someone who appears to have got a review copy of the game, which were sent out earlier this week. Avowed faced some criticism in mid-2024 following an announcement via the Iron Lords podcast that the game would be targeting a baseline 30 FPS. But however, I forget what exactly happened. I don't think this article mentions it, but there actually was a clarification where someone from Obsidian actually came out and said, no, they were saying that the game didn't need to be 60 frames. They didn't say it wasn't going to be 60 frames. That's weird. I don't know why they don't mention that, because that was said. But anyway, so yeah, it sounds great. I'm more of a resolution guy. I want the game to look good. I'm perfectly fine with 30 frames per second personally.
This also feels like a game where you're not moving a lot. So 30 is fine for a game you're
Honestly, I would probably just go halvesies on that and go 40.
Go 40?
Go 40. I mean, I want the game to look gorgeous. I want to see like the resolution. I want to be like, wow, what a gorgeous looking game this is. I don't need the frames to be perfect by any means. As long as they're good and consistent.
I do hope we see like this isn't a 1-to-1 parity from the X to the S, and I hope we see more of that.
Yes, I agree.
I hope they allow. Yeah, I hope they allow. Hey, we're gonna boost our game as much as we can for the X, and we'll lower it for the S for the sake of running it smoothly.
Yeah, that would be nice. Keep doing that, Xbox.
Yeah.
Please. Moving over to some PlayStation news. Number 9, the headlines. PlayStation is no longer requiring PSN on certain PC ports of their games. Which was a big thing we talked about last year with a lot of PlayStation games going to PC and being unavailable in countries that couldn't get PSN.
Yeah.
However, PlayStation still wants you to have a PSN account when you play their games on PC, so it's going to be giving players freebies for doing that. In a post on the PlayStation blog, a number of new incentives were announced if you have a PSN account and play the games on PC. Games like Marvel Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, and The Last of Us 2 Remastered will be given in-game content if you link your account with the PC game. It looks like, so Marvel Spider-Man 2, you get a Spider-Man 2099 black suit and the Miles Morales 2099 suit. God of War Ragnarok is access to the armor of the Black Bear set for Kratos, along with other items in the New Game Plus run. Last of Us Remastered Part 2, extra unlocks, and Jordan's jacket from Intergalactic, the Hectic Prophet, as a skin for Ellie. And Horizon Zero Dawn, you gain access to the Nora Valiant outfit. So, I mean, I think it's a good call by PlayStation.
Yeah. Ty joined us. Welcome, Ty.
What's up, Ty? He says, imagine being a developer saying your goal was 30 and that's your vision, and gamers come out attacking you, telling you and demanding it's 60. Said it before and I said it again. Gamers are entitled. So I actually agree with Ty. I actually agree with Ty.
I don't agree with him 100% only because some of the frustration is like, hey, I'm buying your $600 box, and it's I don't know.
Well,
I'm paying for all this. I bought this power. I went with you, and you have a game that's. I don't know. Like, for example, the game we're showing right now, Spider-Man. I don't know if it actually does or doesn't. I don't know. But I feel like this is a game where you move a lot. This should be a 60 FPS at least option in the game. So I get what Ty's saying. Like, people want every game to be 4K 60 games per second. Some games don't need it.
So
it's
I think that at
unnecessary.
the end of the day, it comes down to the discretion of the developer. If like a lot of people are shitting on South of Midnight because of the stop motion art style. Like, that's the art style that the developers intended.
Yeah.
Like, guess what? Like that. Like, oh, you're upset about it. Well, like, okay, well then don't play it. I mean, that's not.
But that's a creative choice. Like,
but that's what I'm saying though. Like, if for a game to work the way the developer intends it, maybe they have to cap the frames. Like,
I guess
if they want a game running a certain way or looking a certain way, like that means they might have to do something like that. So like, I think that like if they're able to, like, yeah, like I think that's more of a question for the hardware makers, not the software makers. It's like, hey, you should be able to support these developers to do these things. But I mean, I agree with Ty. I think that if a game can hit 30 frames and not dip below, I don't see a problem.
For me, it again, it depends on the certain game. For some games, should have it as an option. Driving games should have another option. Shooters should have another option. Games where you're moving fast, like again, Spider-Man, should have it as an option. That's just my opinion.
Ty also says, imagine telling
especially
gamers,
for AAA games. It's a AAA game. Like, no excuse. That's.
Ty also says, imagine telling gamers to sign into PSN to play their games on PC and PC gamers cry and moan about it. The entitlement of childishness of gamers will never cease to amaze.
But again, Ty, there are countries where you can't get access to PSN.
Yeah, that was a big problem, Ty, is that like
people bought the game and then they were told they can't play it because their PSN isn't in that country. Imagine spending money on a game and then you can't play it because you don't have a Google account. You know what I mean? Like, that's frustrating. I'd be pissed too. Ty, with the awful takes today. Come on, man.
Man, Ty was cooking Dev last week, and now Dev's trying to cook Ty. This is crazy. I can't believe this is going on.
I've never been cooked. I'm raw.
He cooked you last week.
He didn't cook me.
He cooked you. I don't remember what it was about, but he was cooking.
Yeah, see, you don't even remember.
It's been a lot going on. We were in the Super Bowl. I don't got time to think about last week's podcast. Anyways, while we're on the PlayStation news, next up, where there's a rumor that about the next God of War, it will be tackling Egyptian mythology. Now that God of War's Norse storyline has come to a close, the question on every fan's mind is, which mythology will Kratos intermingle with next? According to one report, the answer is Egyptian. As spotted by Insider Gaming, Daniel RPK has posted on his paywall Patreon feed that God of War will pay a visit to the Egyptian pantheon in the series' next title. Apparently, Santa Monica Studio is currently casting for Middle Eastern actors to appear in a new game, which is likely to be the next God of War that explores Egyptian mythology.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So I was actually thinking about this today, and it's like, I don't think this is a hot take, but like, man, are the new God of War games just so much better than the old God of War games.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like, I don't know if that's a hot take necessarily, like, broad, but, like, maybe it's just because like, that's the kind of game. Like, the new God of War games are, like, my kind of game.
There are a few people. I mean, the creator, I think.
No, yeah. He definitely did.
But I think people probably miss the old style, but, like, I mean, when you compare it to the new the new God of War games, it's, I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Number 11 in the headlines, Pokemon TCG Pocket's trading feature is here, and it sucks. This week, Pokemon TCG Pocket added trading, allowing players to swap cards. However, in order to trade cards, players need 2 new items, trade tokens, and trade hourglasses. And they can only trade cards with a rarity of 1 to 4 diamonds or 1 star. So the trades have to be in the same rarity. Mm-hmm. You also can't trade for super rare cards.
Yeah, we tried that.
You also can't trade for the new pack line for some reason yet. These restrictions have been met with criticisms from fans who argue that the limitations of trading are confusing and require too much effort to trade cards. Now, in a statement, publisher Creatures Inc. has said that following the fan feedback, the system will change. They said, since releasing the first iteration of trading a few days ago, we have received a large number of comments. Thank you for sharing your feedback. The item requirements and restrictions implemented for trading feature were designed to prevent abuse from bots and other prohibited actions using multiple accounts. Our goal was to balance the game while preserving the fun of collecting cards that are the core to the Pokemon TCG Pocket experience. However, thank you for your feedback. We understand some of the restrictions put in place are preventing players from being able to casually enjoy the feature as intended. We are actively investigating ways to improve the feature to address these concerns. Going forward, we also plan to offer multiple ways to obtain trade tokens through event distributions. Players who log into the game currently will receive enough trade tokens for a free trade of the highest tier of card. It's unclear how the system will change, though. Devereaux, we traded yesterday.
About 4 cards, right?
5.
5.
There's too many hoops to jump through for this system. I can understand worrying about bots. However, for me, in my opinion, I can't help but feel like this is more of a thing in place to stop players from not spending money. In my opinion, because I think that like you can't trade the super rare cards. Like the one thing about the trading, there's 2 things that I think make sense to me. One is the trade hourglasses.
Mm-hmm.
I think 5 trades in a day is great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need to do more. I don't think you need to do less. I think doing 5 trades a day keeps players logging in every day. I think that the trade... What is the other item? I know it's hourglasses and... Hold on.
It's those points.
The trade points. Yeah, whatever you want, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Get rid of those. I think that is an unnecessary thing to have. So you need to use trade hourglasses, but then you also need to accrue these other trade points, which I think you said the only way to get them is to like get rid of your cards, right?
Yeah, you have to burn cards to get those points. Yeah, that's
terrible. I think that makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So you have to burn cards to trade more cards.
I'd be willing to, if you keep that, make it maybe I can battle some PCs and get those points or something like.
But again, I think at that point you're just being redundant.
Yeah.
If you already have the trade hourglasses, why do you need the trade points? The trade hourglasses are already limiting your trades. Okay. I'm okay with cards being traded, needing to be traded from the same rarity as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I think that's fair.
And I understand not putting the ultra rare because.
I disagree with that. I think that's kind of.
Well, with this. You can still complete your Pokédex or whatever they have, with the system they have. The 4 diamonds and up to the 1 star. With that, you can complete the Pokédex. Anything above that is kind of like icing on the cake that you have to win those. So I get it.
I don't like it. The way I look at it, like for example, right, like we talked about how like the promo cards, like I didn't get that Lapras from that first event. I tried. I did every single battle I possibly could, giving the stamina that they give me, but I never pulled the Lapras card. And it's just like, it's not like I wasn't playing the game.
Yeah.
It's not like I wasn't attempting.
But I think it's
with a game where you have randomness like that, I think that like.
I think that's what keep people coming back. That FOMO.
Yeah, but that Lapras is gone.
Yeah, but
the thing is, like, I'm a player. What I'm saying is, I was a player that logged in every day, multiple times a day, to do the battles, as many as I could, before I had to wait for the blue points to reload, and then as soon as they reloaded, I would go use them again. I was doing as many battles as I could, and I didn't get the Lapras card. And it's just like, as a player, what are you supposed to do at that point? Like, if it's random, it needs to be available indefinitely. In my opinion. I think that that's just bad game design. If it's something where it's like, hey, you need to make sure you log in from this time to this time and you'll get this card, that's how you keep players coming back. Not like, oh, okay, well, you tried, you actively did everything you could, and you still didn't get the RNG on your side. Shit out of luck, I guess you're just not getting this Lapras ever. See you later. Whereas, like, I think trading is a way to kind of work to go around that, where it's like I remember, like, I picked you have multiples of that Lapras, I have multiples of like the Blastoise, and we were talking about maybe making a trade there where like, okay, I could get that Lapras card that I wasn't able to get. I just think that there's so many limitations to the trading where it's like, I believe that there should be some, but I feel like when they did this, they really went out of their way to put too many on there. Yeah. Where it feels like an inconvenience. Trading doesn't feel fun because of how much of a hassle it feels like. Well, how many hourglasses do we have? How many points do we have? Is it not rare enough? Like, you really wanted that Machamp card. And I wanted to make that trade with you.
Yeah.
That sucks.
A game like this, you have to have FOMO in the game. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you could still have that feeling.
I don't know how with
trading.
I don't know how you have that feeling.
Because you still need to get a rarity. Like, you can't just, like, okay, I'll give you this 1 diamond rarity for the Alakazam. Like, no, well, like, you have to have something that you're going to give the other player in return.
Yeah, but there's no fear there because that, again, those
rarities
packs
are still rare.
But those packs are available all the time. There's no fear of missing out on that. With these promo cards, like, again, you have to...
But again, I just think that that's more akin to the real-life experience of the card game. Where it's like, hey, like with your friends, like, hey, guess what? Like, you
No, even
cards.
then it's not, because there are certain cards that are available only at certain events. If you don't go to that event or if you don't get that card, that's it.
You can still trade for it.
Oh yeah, you can still trade for it. Yeah.
Again, I'm just saying, I think that there's a lot of issues with it, and I think it really, like, it's something that, like, I'm not gonna try to do regularly because it's just there's so many hoops to jump through.
The trading, yeah.
I mean, like, we did 5 trades and, like, we both benefited from the trades.
Well, they're changing it, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's a new South of Midnight stop motion video. Did you watch that?
I haven't watched it yet.
We should watch it after the...
Okay, yeah, we will. Next up, a website. God is a Geek. The entire staff walked out, Devereaux.
Why'd they walk out?
Well, you see, the thing is...
Oh, it's him.
Yeah, so yes, that guy was the owner of the website.
Okay, I saw that video, and I didn't know it was him.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so for those that are wondering...
I don't know if I want to play. I'm not playing that.
No, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
God is a Geek staff quit following an ex-priest owner's Yahtzee salute. If you hadn't heard of far-right anti-immigration priest Calvin Robinson before, number 1, lucky you. Number 2, he likely ended up on your radar this past week when he performed a Nazi-looking salute, or as I like to call it, a Nazi salute, which conservatives have been attempting to rebrand as the Elon Musk salute or the Roman salute, which came from fascist Italy.
You call it whatever you want to call it. It is what it is.
Hold on, so a little bit of a history tangent here. The Roman salute thing drives me fucking insane because the Roman salute started in fascist Italy. Mussolini was doing it, and Mustache Man was like, I don't really like that. He's like, I'm a stan of yours. I would be honored if you would use this salute. And that's how Hitler started the Sieg Heil. It's like, so yeah, you can call it a Roman salute, but guess what? It still originated from fascism. So, anyways, producer Ash going crazy right now. They spent years making a name for himself on the right-wing media circuit, appearing on Britain's GB News, popping up next to figures like Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump, responding to accusations that he's a conspiracy theorist by calling the label a badge of honor. Before all of that, though, Robinson was a games journalist, and he still owns a website he founded and wrote for, God is a Geek, which is a website I've heard of in the past. Today, the editorial staff of the site announced that they are quitting the site. God is a Geek is a long-running site that focuses on gaming news, reviews, videos, and podcasts, and prides itself on a diverse, passionate team with all manner of tastes. Though the site's following is relatively small, it regularly receives review and preview codes and invites and interview access from the video game industry, with its reviews appearing on Metacritic, bless you, as well as those fawning review scores, promo posters, publishers love to trot out after games, even though nobody's heard of half the websites on them. The website's coverage is standard stuff. The writing is not particularly hard-hitting, but neither does it seem to have slipped down the DEI-obsessed rabbit hole that his affiliation with Robinson might suggest. According to GIAG's privacy policy, the site is owned by LDN-CM, a publishing company whose team page lists just 2 members, Ruck Correa and Calvin Robinson. Robinson contributed articles and videos to the site beginning all the way back in 2009, but hasn't really done so since 2019, which is also when LDN dissolved, according to records reviewed by VGC. While Robinson maintained ownership of the site after that, Robinson has no involvement with the site on a day-to-day basis whatsoever, according to an unnamed representative of the website who replied to Aftermath, which is the article I'm reading from, their inquiries via the site's PR email. The author of this article also asked if the site's team would issue any sort of statement in response to Robinson's salute or general conduct. The representative said that the editorial team will make no further comment. Aftermath reached out to Corey and Robinson for more information. They did not receive a response. In a statement posted to the website, the site staff reiterated that Robinson did not actively participate in operations, but that they nonetheless felt compelled by his recent actions to cease publication entirely. Quote, "We have run the site independently of Calvin for several years now, in the hopes that he would not have to lose the hard work. We would not have to lose the hard work we poured into it, the access we have worked for, the relationships we have developed. God is a Geek's editorial team wrote, however, it has become increasingly clear that we can no longer separate the site from the owner. As a result, the entire editorial team will be stepping down with immediate effect. We will create a new site, and our future content will be published there, bereft of any connection to Calvin Robinson. It will be hard to start again, hard to walk away from the work we've done here off our own backs, but it is the right thing to do."
I like that.
Now, obviously, the final straw here was at the National Pro-Life Summit. Robinson delivered the gesture to the audience with a knowing nod, saying, "My heart goes out to you," before touching his hand to his chest and extending his arm in such a way that makes no sense if you were saying, "My heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to you." You know, he did something else.
He knew what he was doing.
No, yeah. I mean, so did Elon, you know. But.
Yeah.
Also, hours after this, the Anglican Catholic Church revoked his license. So, you know. Anyways. Number 13 on the headlines is a list of really good games that I came across this list. It's a list of recommendations of games you should play this year for no particular reason. I mean, there is a reason. But so, let's get into this list. For no particular reason, this is a list of games where you get to kill Nazis, because killing Nazis is fun. Various Call of Duty games.
Check.
Specifically World War II.
Okay.
Various Medal of Honor games.
Mm-hmm. Check.
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
You're loving that.
I, for one, love that when I come home from a long day of dealing with the world being on fire, for no particular reason, there's no correlation, of course, I get to sit down, I get to punch Nazis and beat them with sledgehammers and whips and guns and
nice
toilet brushes if I find one. I'm just like, you're a Nazi. That's great. The Saboteur, which, real talk, the Saboteur, banger. A complete banger. Okay. It's an old game. It was the last game made by Pandemic Studios before they closed down back in 2009. This game rules. It's really good. So it's an open world game. Have you ever heard of the Saboteur?
No, I don't think I have.
So it's an open world game, and the entire world, it takes place in Nazi-occupied France. The whole world is in black and white, except for the red from the Nazis. And as you free the world, it's an open world, as you go and do all the objectives in the world, the color returns to the world.
That's cool.
Yeah, and you play as an Irish guy. An Irish race car driver. It's just great. Play the Saboteur, if you haven't. South Park, The Stick of Truth. You fight Nazi zombies.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, you do. It's great. It's a fun game. The list includes every competitive multiplayer game, because eventually you're going to get online with somebody who is a Nazi. Zombie Army is also on here. Blood Rain, which is a really cool game. You beat up Nazis in that. Company of Heroes. Wolfenstein,
of course.
Path of Exile 2.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. It's a great list. Definitely go play these games. For no particular reason. Number 14 on the headlines. There's a shakeup at Sony Corp. They're shaking up their leadership ranks in Tokyo and San Mateo, elevating my guy, Hiroki Totoki, to the top CEO post, while Hideki Nishino takes the reins of Sony Interactive Entertainment as the sole CEO of the unit that houses PlayStation. The corporate shuffle, effective April 1st, was approved late Tuesday by the Electronics and Entertainment Giant Board of Directors in Tokyo. Totoki, my guy, a 38-year-old Sony veteran who has most recently served as Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer, will succeed Kenichiro Yoshida as leader of the company that is a cornerstone of the business landscape in Japan. My guy Totoki will serve as president and CEO of Sony Corp. The handoff from Yoshida to Totoki also comes with a restructuring of the senior business ranks. Sony Pictures Entertainment, the company's Hollywood outpost, saw a leadership transition earlier this month. Let's see. I am incredibly honored and humbled to have been entrusted with the important role of President and CEO, Hiroki Totoki said. My predecessors as CEO, Kazuo Hirai and Kenichiro Yoshida, have greatly enhanced Sony's value, and I will do my utmost to further build on this success and pass on an even better Sony to the next generation. At our corporate strategy meeting in May of last year, we newly announced our creative entertainment vision, which outlines where we want Sony to be in 10 years, with our purpose as the guiding principle. Our greatest driver in achieving this diversity is the diversity of our business and people, which is part of Sony's DNA, and our boundary spanners that transcend organizational barriers and organically connect to the diversity to create new value. Together with our employees, creators, and partners, and our new leadership team, I will work to create a bright future filled with boundless sense of kondo, which is emotion. Herman Holst, who you may remember was a co-CEO, is getting moved. I think technically you could look at it as a demotion, but he's basically getting moved back to like head of PlayStation games. I'm trying to see. Does the article not say it? It doesn't, but Herman Holst is still there. Ty says, Herman should be careful. At the end of the day, he was in charge of managing all these live service games that have now been canceled. Sony is aware of that. You don't blame that on Jim Ryan, Ty?
I think I would blame it on
Jim Ryan. It's 100%. It's not Herman Holst. It's the Xbox 2 podcast. They always used to put it in a really good way. They would be like, lying, flying, crying, Jim Ryan. They used to say like just a bunch of words that rhymed with Ryan. It was great. I mean, yeah, I think it's to be expected. I mean, PlayStation probably they have to like really reevaluate their games sector, and also they're trying to grow as a business in general. My guy Hiroki Totoki will see them to the promised land, I believe. I know that like you think I'm an Xbox or a PlayStation hater, but how can I be when this guy, this wonderful man, look at this guy. Tell me this guy is just not the best. But anyways. Next up, Dr. Disrespect's former game studio, Midnight Society, has announced it's shutting down. They announced that they will also be canceling their NFT-backed extraction shooter Dead Drop and closing the studio. 55 employees were affected. Announced on X, Midnight Society wrote, "Today we are announcing Midnight Society will be closing its doors after 3 incredible years, with an amazing team of over 55 contributing to our new IP, Dead Drop. We are actively seeking other game studios that would be interested in offering employment opportunities to our talented team members. If you know anyone who's hiring, please forward this message to them or DM us for direct intros. We express our sincere gratitude to each and every one of our community members and are deeply sorry that we were unable to reach our ultimate goal." I mean, obviously this is
something that's a little... I mean, I laughed at it, but it's not that funny, but the same day that this happened, he, Disrespect got remonetized on YouTube. So it's like...
Yeah. I mean, it sucks, man. I mean, at the end of the day, the dude's a piece of shit. And, like, I remember Ty and I had a conversation about this when it happened. Which, it looks like we're just going to continue to disagree, which is fine. Real quick, Ty says, Jim Ryan mandated it, but Yoshida was demoted to allow Herman the ability to take the new venture into live services. Herman didn't execute. Fair enough.
Okay.
He says, here are the facts. The CEO who disowned Dr. Disrespect is a loser. All he had to do was be silent, but he decided to grandstand. Because of his bull, developers will now have been let go. Well done, loser. I completely disagree with you here, Ty. Look, man, at the end of the day, and this is a hot topic, right? In anything, whether you're talking like books, movies, like with art, like the creator, right? Like you have to find yourself, and like some people want to have those standards, some people don't. At the end of the day, Dr. Disrespect is a piece of shit. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care how successful he is. I don't care anything like that. At the end of the day, the shit that dude did was fucking disgusting. And the way he reacted afterwards is equally disgusting. So, me personally, being that type of person that tries to, when I see a need, I want to be able to sleep at night. I want to be able to support things I feel are right to support. I think that the developer, the CEO of that development studio, choosing to not associate with a guy who inappropriately texted minors, like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, because
what kind of conversation do you want to have at that point?
That reflects on the developers. Yeah, they lost their job, but they kept their integrity. I don't know, like...
And I know Ty's going to come back from that with, like, well, integrity doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah, yeah.
And, like, yeah, sure, I get that. Yeah, right. It's an imperfect world. I get that. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and have a conversation where it's like, oh, man, they really shouldn't have cut ties without disrespect. No, fuck him. He's a piece of shit. He's a scumbag.
Yeah. It's like...
we just talked about... unalive him for the shit he was doing.
A few headlines ago, we just talked about like a whole studio, or what is it? God is a Gamer, the publisher, like the publishing company. They don't like
they lost their jobs.
They lost their jobs because their face or the representative or CEO. I don't know what his rank was. I don't remember, but
the owner of the website.
Yeah, the owner. He's a piece of shit, and it's like you gotta.
And like, look, okay, maybe they should have voted on it, but at the end of the day, the CEO is the head of the company. He makes that decision. He's like, I don't want to be associated with this.
Yeah.
And he says that we should be ashamed. He says, you championed the CEO doing this, which literally led to people losing their jobs. Like, we suck, Dev. How about no? Again, like, sorry, like, Ty, I don't know who you hang out with. You hang out with people that, like, talk to kids like that. Like, that's you, man. That's a you decision. That's not anything I'm about. I'm not about that. Deborah's not about that. I know that.
There you go. He said it.
There it is. Terry don't pay bills.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all for
grandstanding. It's just factual. Like, if my boss came out tomorrow and was like, "Yeah, I'm a Nazi. I'm looking for a new employment." Like, I'm not staying there. No, like, sorry. It's not grandstanding. It's called having morals and standards. But, I mean, like, yeah, again, like, at the end of the day, yes, people lost their jobs, and it's unfortunate, but, like, what do? You just continue to associate yourself with someone like that? Like...
According to Ty, yeah.
I don't know.
You can be the biggest scumbag, but as long as you're putting your money in, do whatever you want, right?
I mean, I would push back and say, like, if any of the developers felt that way, they probably should have sought new employment, because, like, the Dr. Disrespect news happened, like, last year. They had plenty of time to look elsewhere for a job if they really were so, like, upset about this. I don't know. He said, so, Rome, if your manager said Dr. Disrespect was financing your company, now he says, I have two options. Should we keep quiet and make sure everyone has a job? Or do I literally fire everyone right now? I mean, again, like, me personally... If my boss said that, I would say that's a decision for you to make, but I'm not going to be here if you're supporting him. And if other people lose their jobs, like, that's not the decision that I'm making. I'm just telling you right now that me personally, on a personal level, I don't live in reality. Yeah, all right, bro. Whatever
you also got to remember, like,
if we don't fucking pay bills and work jobs and have all these, grow the fuck up. Seriously.
When this game comes out, whatever game they were making comes out, it's still going to be, it's the diddler's game. You know what I mean? Like, it's Dr. Disrespect's game. His face. He's the face of it.
It's a lose-lose situation.
You take his money. You spend all this time making the game. You put it out. You're not going to recoup the amount you're going to recoup because the face of your company is a pedophile. Like, yeah, he still has followers, and those guys will still pay for the game. But he lost a lot, and like, it's.
I just love that "don't live in reality" line. You know what? Why don't you sit out for 5 minutes? How about that for reality? Oh, well. Get a job with that. Yeah, okay. Anyways.
It's weird to blame the CEO for firing him
Yeah,
and
it's
not
just a
and
bad
not.
take. It's just a bad take, and it comes off in bad. It's in bad faith. Like it's just like, come on, Ty.
If it's anyone's fault,
Like,
it's
bro.
Dr. Disrespect's fault. Like it's
Right. It's like, yeah, like how are you blaming the CEO for the company closing? Like,
Yeah,
hey, how about Dr. Disrespect just doesn't message children? Like, why is that not where we go? Like, why is that not the thought process here?
yeah. If the breadwinner of the house, if the father of the house is the breadwinner and he gets arrested, you don't blame the cops for arresting him. Now that you know what I mean? It's
Damn
like
it, the cops are we're gonna be homeless because of the police. It's like, no, the father broke the fucking law and now he's in prison.
Yeah, it's we just put to let him out of prison because I don't I disagree, but
Yeah, I disagree too. That's why Ty's sitting out for 300 seconds. He may leave the show for the night. In which case, see you later, Ty. We'll see you next time. But no, fuck that shit. Next up in the headlines, kind of crazy. Claire Obscure Expedition 33. The movie. It's got a movie coming out already. Not coming out, but it's underway.
Before the game even comes out.
The game isn't even out yet, but a movie adaptation is already in the works. Developer Sandfall Interactive is working with production company Story Kitchen, the team behind many game-to-movie adaptations, including the Sonic movies and the upcoming Dredge film. They will produce the film alongside Alina Sandoval, Variety reported. As yet, there's no director or cast attached to the project. They're thrilled to collaborate with Sandfall Interactive to bring the rich, immersive world Expedition 33 to the big screen. Haven't even played the game yet. Story looks sick, so I'm not surprised they're trying to make it a movie.
Story and the world. Like,
yeah, 100%. Next up in the headlines, number 17, BioWare now has less than 100 people working at the studio. Their headcount is dwindling, according to a new report from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier. The company now sits at less than 100 employees after having over 200 people just 2 years ago. The report that a number of employees who were put temporarily on new teams were informed that those moves were permanent. No longer were they BioWare employees helping out in a different area, which they were originally told, like, hey, you're just helping out some other projects. They actually ended up being full-time permanent transfers, that doesn't sound good to me.
yeah.
Schreier's report also corroborates Insider Gaming's exclusive report that dozens of people were let go as part of this wave of layoffs at the studio. He says if they want to work at BioWare again in the future, they would have to look for another job opening and reapply. He adds that for now, at least, a small team will work on the next game in the Mass Effect series. This team is being led by a company veteran who oversaw the development of the original trilogy as well as 2019's Anthem. The goal is to then expand as needed later on in production. For me personally, I think this sounds like bad news for BioWare. Like, I think that you're expecting them to make Mass Effect, which, for all intents and purposes, is BioWare's last chance. Like, it's and it really sucks. But, like, between Anthem and, like, Veilguard didn't really impress people, I feel like. Like, they're and Mass Effect Andromeda, like, they haven't been hitting. And they're kind of in a spot where they need a hit. And so I feel like it's almost disingenuous on EA's part to not give them the full opportunity to have a fighting chance.
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean that Mass Effect 5 is going to be bad. It doesn't mean that BioWare won't succeed here. They do say that they would like to expand as needed as production goes on.
And I hope those guys are the first people on the list. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I just think it's like you're taking employees out of BioWare that you like and you're transferring them elsewhere to work on other projects for you. And it's not even that you're helping out. You're just there now. And then at the same time, you're also laying off other developers. I don't know. To me, it just sounds like EA is kind of setting Mass Effect 5 and BioWare up for failure. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know if it's looking good over there. What are your thoughts?
I think they'll be fine. It just sucks. It's just a story that kind of sucks. Like, again, like you said, they weren't given a chance.
Yeah.
You know. But we'll see.
Number 18 in the headlines, Multiverses is officially shutting down for real this time. After rumors began to circulate last week that the game could wrap up after Season 5, it's been announced that, in fact, Multiverses is shutting down. In a post on social media and the game's website, Warner Brothers Games and Players First Games announced that Season 5 will serve as the final update for Multiverses. The season will run from February 4th to May 30th. After that day, the game will be taken offline, with the game only playable in an offline state. At that point, there will be an option to play Multiverses offline via local gameplay mode, either solo against AI opponents or with up to 3 friends. To do this, you'll need to install, download the latest version of the game, log in during Season 5 anytime between February 4th and May 30th. After logging in, a local save file will automatically be created and connected to your PlayStation Network, Microsoft Store, Steam, or Epic Games Store account. Oh my god, he's back. Don't blame the CEO, hypocrites. Whose fault is the hundreds of people were fired from BioWare? The employees doing their jobs, or the fans, or the CEO? So, in terms of BioWare, who's to blame? I mean, I think EA is if you're going to give them a chance to make Mass Effect 5 a success, and then you start firing people and laying people off, it feels disingenuous on the CEO's part. I don't agree with it. Because again, you're going to say something. I'm never going to be happy about people losing their jobs. But, the dog disrespecting is just a different situation. Whereas at the end of the day, the reality of the situation with BioWare is that they've put out about 3 or 4 games recently, and none of them have been hits.
Ty, you keep giving us these hypotheticals, but you didn't answer. Again, if the breadwinner or the father of the house gets arrested, are you gonna and he has a wife and kids? Are you gonna be mad at the police for that?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, he didn't answer that question.
No,
would love to get an answer. But I mean, yeah, I think that at the end of the day, after the failed games, if EA wanted to close BioWare, obviously I wouldn't support it at all. But at least they would be like, well, look, they put out 4 games or 3 games recently. The last 3 or 4 in a row have been not good. They've underperformed. They haven't been good games. You got to make a tough decision there. I don't agree with it. It's not a decision I want to make. I don't want people to lose their jobs. But at the end of the day, if you're like, okay, well, BioWare, you're going to get one more chance. You're going to get to make Mass Effect 5. And you're not going to give that studio, a fair chance to make the game successful.
He's saying, whose fault is it that Dragon Age Veilguard failed? I don't know if people didn't buy it. I don't know how do you blame? I don't know who you put blame on for that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe everybody's part to blame, but
the game wasn't bad. Just people didn't buy it. So
they weren't interested in it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Concord. Okay, well, who's to blame for Concord?
Yeah.
I guess every situation we can sit down and break it down.
I guess for him, he's saying that it's the developer's fault for not making it more fun.
I would assume that's probably Ty's. That sounds like who Ty would normally blame. He's not blaming the CEO. I'll tell you that much. He's probably like, no, man, definitely not.
There is a point to that, though. Better games do sell better, but I think Dragon Age was looked at pretty favorably. You know what I mean?
See, I have a bias because I haven't liked any of the Dragon Age games. So
But you only played the first one, right?
Yeah,
Dragon. Yeah, they're so different.
I get it, but it's just not. I wasn't interested.
Inquisition is your kind of game, I'm telling you. But
anyways, we'll move on. It's the CEO's fault, the creative director. Oh wow, surprise! That's a surprise answer. Well, wait. So you're blaming the CEO or the creative director, or both? A little confused there. While Ty gets his shit together to answer, the next headline is a rumor. PlayStation is reportedly prepping for a February state of play for Valentine's Week. According to reliable gaming insider Nate the Hate, who frequently reveals information on the games industry. According to him, the PlayStation's next live stream is happening in February. When asked about it by an ex-user for a more exact timing, he dropped a strong hint that it was happening Valentine's Week. I don't know why this article didn't put the... So basically what he said was, someone was like, do you know what week it's going to be in February? Is it going to be earlier or later? And he said, what does your heart tell you? And when he said this, right, my initial thought was, my dream job would to be a game leaker. Because I would just love to say the most vague shit. to tease an announcement. But like, hey, do you know if this game is coming out in fall or winter? It's like, I don't know, but I could go for some hot chocolate right now. It's like, what are you fucking talking about?
Just
You
pissing
drink
off
hot
people
chocolate in the
everywhere.
winter, so it's coming out in the winter. But like I would be like really bad analogies. Like that one's corny and funny, but I would be like, they'd be like, oh my god, this guy. Why do people keep telling this guy stuff? I mean, yeah, cool. So maybe we'll get a state of play that week, which would be next week, I believe. So maybe that'll be something we'll be talking about. Next up in the headlines, so this changed in the script a few times because originally this morning it leaked, but then EA confirmed it. So EA has confirmed that Battlefield Labs community testing platform is a thing, and it's going to be a community testing environment for players. The news had leaked early this morning and then was later confirmed. The new testing environment is where our players will join forces with Battlefield Studios and help shape the evolution of Battlefield, EA said. You will test combat mechanics, modes, and more while providing us with crucial feedback in the ultimate collaboration. Your voice will help shape our collective future. Let's build together. Battlefield Labs is available for sign-up now through the game's Discord. At the start, it's only available to a few thousand participants in North America and Europe. More will be added over time across different regions. Regardless of your level of participation, we want all Battlefield fans to be a part of this process. EA said, we will be posting work-in-progress public updates from our community team, where you will directly hear from developers at Battlefield Studios. This is the first new Battlefield since 2021's Battlefield 2042. It's being developed by 4 different studios. According to EA, DICE is working on the game's general multiplayer. Motive is developing the single player. Criterion is assisting with both multi and single player modes, and Ripple Effect is working on the game's battle royale mode. The group is now being called Battlefield Studios.
Nice.
I have to give EA credit here. I think the way they're handling the development of this Battlefield game is fucking awesome. They are look, Call of Duty has their studios that work together. I like that they have a clear, concise vision where it's like, these are the 4 studios, these are their tasks. And then they're turning around saying, hey, we're going to take what they're working on and we're going to bring it to Battlefield Labs where players can sign up and they can help give feedback, which I think is really big. I think Battlefield has really fallen off over the years. Not from, 2042 was a quality perspective. But what Battlefield could and should be is special.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And you also were kind of talking last week about, not to bring it back up again, but you're concerned will an EA continue to really push to innovate Battlefield if Call of Duty is what it is?
We need them to. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You need them.
What I think of when I think of Battlefield. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you ask me to imagine what Battlefield is, it almost to a T is this.
Yeah.
It is a realistic, boots on the ground. I mean, obviously there's aircraft as well, but on the ground, large maps, large scale
64
warfare,
players, yeah.
Destructible.
And the destruction here looked really great.
It really did. It looked really good.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for the future of Battlefield. I don't have time to be one of these testers, but if you are, good on you.
Yeah.
Time for our final headline of the show. One to throw in the Devro was wrong again category. Former PlayStation executive Shuhei Yoshida was asked about the Switch 2 reveal. Says, I was surprised there weren't many surprises. The popular executive quit Sony last month after 31 years with the company, during which he helped launch the original PlayStation and served as its president of worldwide studios between 2008 and 2019. Quote, I thought the Switch 2 announcement could have been a larger reveal, Yoshida said in a newly published interview with MinMax, in which he also described himself as a huge Nintendo fan who grew up playing the company's games. I was surprised there were not many surprises, he said. The only surprise to me was the mice thing that they showed. Nintendo's reveal trailer showed the Joy-Con controllers attached to grips via magnets. He says, well, I thought, because the Switch 2 is more powerful and Call of Duty is coming, maybe people want to play an FPS with mice. But hopefully, because it's Nintendo, they use it to some more weird, amazing way. Something that people wouldn't anticipate. So I hope the next show, the beginning of April 1, they reveal something that's still hidden to us about the Switch 2. Switch 2's hardware design and numerous product details leaked prior to the reveal. Yoshida may not have been aware of it. The leaks actually included claims of the Joy-Con mouse functionality. He goes on to say that a leak is disappointing, even if it's for another company. He feels very sorry when it does happen. As a person, you're amazed. As a person, you like to be amazed and surprised. Hopefully, another leak won't happen.
So I found out something that you might like, or not like. I know how you want to fight Nintendo sometimes, but
I don't want to fight Nintendo.
You don't want to, but like
I don't want to.
They give you reason to.
They just frustrate me.
So one of the things that people kept saying was because they had this trailer in the oven, like they had the trailer finished and they just didn't put it out after all the leaks. People were like, "Hey, it's getting leaked. Drop the trailer. Drop this teaser."
Yeah, drop Not Like Us.
Yeah. So they dropped this trailer at a weird time.
Yeah.
Which apparently translate a video is 2 minutes 22 seconds long.
Yeah.
And I guess the time that they dropped it in Japan also translates to 222. This is also 2 months, 2 weeks, and 2 days before April 2nd. So that's why they held on to it for so long. And that's why they dropped it when they dropped it. That's why they wouldn't release it sooner.
Oh!
They're Nintendoing very hard. I thought it was funny. They're really pushing this too.
I'm done. I quit. I'm done with Nintendo. No more. I'll never buy another Nintendo thing ever again.
Lies.
I'm done. They're dead to me. It's terrible.
And then they announced the remake for... for what? Zelda...
Any of the Zeldas.
Any of the Zeldas.
Okay. Alright, so that's the headlines for the week. Let's close out the show with the Game Informer Memorial game releases for the week of February 3rd. Coming up tomorrow, big release. February is a big month, and this is the first release of many big ones. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 comes out on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on February 4th. Rift of the Necrodancer comes out on PC February 5th. While Waiting comes out on PC and Switch February 5th. Ambulance Life, a paramedic simulator, comes out on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on February 6th. Big Helmet Heroes comes out on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC on February 6th. Keep Driving, PC, February 6th. And Moons of Darsalan, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, Switch, and Xbox One on February 6th. My pick for the week, obviously, is going to be Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah, I have to choose the same thing because I don't know any of the other games here.
Yeah,
I was trying to look them up beforehand.
You think in Ambulance Life, Paramedic Simulator, do you think they give them like the bill in the game too?
I don't know.
It's like, hey, here's your $10,000.
You think it's based in America? That's the difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, the easy mode is Europe.
Okay.
And the hard mode is America. Yeah. But no, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a big release. I think the reviews started coming in. I think they were really positive. Admittedly, I kind of got done work and then started working on the show and haven't like been online like that yet today.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe the game is reviewing relatively well. So yeah, that's gonna be my pick for the week. Get out there and play it. It's a first good release of many for February. All right, well, enough nonsense with Ty and all that. We are getting ready to get out of here. February's here. I'm gonna try to finish Indiana Jones this week. I think I'm in a good place where I can get it done.
Okay.
I would like to. So that's the goal right now. Avowed is coming out next week, which is a game I really want to play. So like, I kind of gotta get it going.
Yeah.
So.
How many hours do you think? I think I see that last time too. You said you're in the final like.
I think I'm in the final open world area. So, but I have mopping up to do in the first. So, because of how the game
couple backtracking,
worked, I have to go do some backtracking on the first open world area. The second open world area I have completely done.
Okay.
So, I'm almost on the third open world area.
So I feel like by next week you could be done.
I'm optimistic, but also like.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot, and obviously I'm going to be like Sunday. I'm going to be a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the best way. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us here tonight. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Join our Discord where you can talk to us there. You can follow me on Blue Sky at RomeW. It's pretty much the only place I'm at. Reddit's great too. I'm on Reddit too. Yeah. Until next time.
See ya.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Hopefully, you know what? Go Birds. That's my fault.
Hopefully the Monday pod next week is celebratory.
We'll see. See ya.
Go Birds.